are living quite a bit far beneath our desires. And so that's what we're going to discuss today. And I really don't think this is going to be a complicated message. I think it's just going to be a matter of how we perceive ourselves. And the biggest problem is that we don't perceive ourselves well enough. And often we take on the perception that others have for us, and we buy into it. I can tell you, you can look through the African American community, and you can see the old hip-hop generation that simply bought into a particular suggestion by mega businesses desiring to sell their products to the masses. And in order for their products to sell to the masses, they have to convince the masses that they want the product. Hip-hop. But every generation has been the same, and every genre of music is the same. Country and Western the same. You have mega businesses that are selling products, paraphernalia, music, movies. And in order to sell to a particular target audience, you must convince that target audience that this is who they are and this is what they desire. We find that in business, in every business, the NRA, we spoke on them, at length in the last program. They're not really a political organization, but just a business that has found a particular niche to buy its product, to buy into its product. And that product is membership. The product aren't guns. The gun companies and many other companies, camouflage and survival companies, they pay the NRA to advertise to their customers. And so the NRA's customers are simply their members. But they're getting paid by the advertisers. And just by the way, as a side note, the post office as well. The post office doesn't survive off of first-class mail. The post office survives off of the advertisers. That whole bunch of coupons that you get, all the mailers that companies are sending and businesses are sending through the mail, that's where the post office makes their money, through advertising. That's where the big bucks are. So they have a customer base. And the advertisers convince the customer base that they are like this and they need this. And you'll even find, those coupons that you get in the mail, you'll find certain neighborhoods are targeted with certain coupons. You won't find Church's Chicken coupons going to Centerville or to Kettering. You'll find them going to Dayton. It's just that way. And some of the higher-end restaurants that are in Centerville or that are in Kettering, you'll find their ads are going to be the coupons that are going into those particular neighborhoods. It's wise, it's smart, it's proper advertising. It's not just happenstance. And what I'm suggesting is that the reason we're suffering so often, most of us in the population, is that we have bought into a self-perception that someone else has presented to us. Okay? And so you find that even in Scripture, the religious groups, because the religious leadership, the reason they killed Jesus, they were looking at Jesus, and they were admitting, they were acknowledging that Jesus was healing the sick, opening blind eyes, making lame people walk, loosing deaf ears and tongues and all, and even raising the dead. They knew that, they saw that. That's why Scripture talks about how Nicodemus came to Jesus at night and said, I know that no man, unless they are of God, can do the things that you do. They knew. But what they said, and you'll find in Scripture, is that they knew that their livelihood would be challenged. They knew that if all the people began to flock toward Jesus, they would lose their position. And their position meant money, meant revenue. And so the story really hasn't changed in all these thousands of years. But what I'm suggesting is, so then what we get from that, if the religious leadership was so concerned that the people would then turn to Jesus, then the people must have still been in the purview of this religious leadership. They were still there, and they were buying into the perception that the religious leadership gave the people that they are. You'll never measure up. You're not good enough. That's why we have to kill all these animals, kill these sacrifices, make all these atonements, because you'll never be okay. And Jesus was like, he came with a different line, that I'm the Lamb. And you guys are well. You guys will be well. And so what I'm going to suggest then is even outside of the religious view of it, this is happening worldwide in every nation, every people. Whether it's politics, whether it's sports, whether it's music, or religion. There are those that benefit monetarily, financially. That is their duty to convince masses of people that they are just like them. And that this is who you are, and I'm the guy you need to speak into your life. That's the key. It's always the leadership, the few leadership, and many masses of people, all convinced. And I guarantee you, as you look down the line, whether it is the religions, whether it's the music industry, whether it's politics, whatever business it is, people are benefiting tremendously monetarily by convincing the masses that they are who they want them to be. And what I'm suggesting today is you'll always be in bondage. You'll never measure up. You'll never walk in the gifting that you have that is unique to you if you're operating in a particular personal perspective that someone else has given you, that this is what you are. Okay? Let me give you a story. This is a success story. I'm talking about my son, Martin Jr. He was born, he was a little guy. Yeah, a little guy, kind of a little short, a little smaller than most guys. Really, really cute, Of course, that's my boy, right? And as he was growing up, into the third, fourth, and fifth, he wasn't growing as tall as all the other kids. Other kids were just sprouting up, getting big and everything. He was still kind of a small-built young man, young boy. But he loved sports. And especially he loved basketball. So the 4th grade, the 5th grade, 6th grade, he wanted to play basketball, And I remember, I think he was in about the 6th grade or 7th grade or so. He went out to try for the basketball team because he loved basketball. And he didn't make it. And he was crushed. He was devastated. But he loved basketball so much, he was going to go ahead and be the towel boy for the basketball team because he wanted to be somehow involved in basketball even if he couldn't play. The towel boy. Now I'm Dad, right? So I remember that night that he had to go in and make the decision. We're sitting outside the school just before we're going in, and I'm talking to him. He's sitting there. And I know he's disappointed, but now he's excited because at least he's going to be a part of the basketball game. I had a long talk with him. Now, I try not to make the decisions for my kids, even though I like to make all the decisions for my kids. But I explained to my son that night that if you go ahead and take that position as the towel boy, I know you're hurting right now, but if you take that position as the towel boy, that from now on, that is what everyone is going to view you as. You're the towel boy. The next year, the following year, they'll like you, you'll still be popular, but you love the game of basketball. You want to play basketball. But from that point on, the perception that other people will have of you will be that you're the towel boy. And that will be the perception that you will have of yourself, that you are the towel boy, and you'll be the towel boy forever. And I said, Mark, you can make this decision. I'm not going to make this decision for you, but I don't think you should do that. I said, what I think you should do is take this next year off. Okay, you didn't make the team, but now you're going to practice. You're going to practice. You're going to practice as hard as you can every day. Anytime you get the opportunity, practice, practice, practice. And then when next year rolls around, you'll make the team. Otherwise, you'll just be the towel boy next year. And you'll be the towel boy forever. Not only that school, then you go on to CJ, you'll be the towel boy, you'll be the towel boy, you'll be the towel boy. And he sat there. One thing I discussed with my kids. And I feel as a parent, if I know the decision that they should be making, then like a good litigator, like a good attorney, then I need to present that case to them in such a way that they make the right decision. And he sat there. And just like, remember that advertisement with that Indian when he saw that trash that was floating in there? He just, at that moment, one tear went down his face. And he said, okay, Dad, let's go home. And we went home. And guess what? Next year, he made the basketball team. Okay? And let me tell you what, and then he went from basketball, he played baseball, he did track. And now, you know what he does? He runs those Reebok Challenge mega races. He's cut. And what I'm suggesting today is because at that moment, a decision had to be made. He had to make a decision on who he was. Was he the sports guy? See, sports guys fail. I don't care what I practice the martial art. I don't care what sport you're in. You're going to lose sometimes. You're still the sports guy if you lose. But what do? You go back to the gym. You work out. You get better. You get better. You come back. You fight again. You throw again. You run again. You throw that basketball. You do it again, and you do it just better next time. And that's what he did. And for the rest of his life, he never perceived himself as being the help. He perceived himself as being the sportsman. And now he's cut. He amazes me sometimes. I've always been a cardio man, but he's cut. Because that pivotal moment, that day, that little boy, do you want to be the towel boy? Or do you want to work out, come back stronger, and make the team next year? And as simple as that was, and what I'm suggesting to you then, he was probably about 8 or 9 or 10. I don't know how old he was. I can't remember. But now he's 30. And so that talk 20 years earlier changed the trajectory of his life to be who he is today. And now he went to college. He graduated college in marketing. He's working for companies. He's doing well. He's getting awards. He's always positive, and he's always winning, and he's the good guy. And what I'm suggesting to you today, what I'm telling you today, is because of his self-perception. He's not the towel boy. He's the player. And I'm sharing that with you today because this is where we fail. Because we settle to be that towel boy. We settle to be that person that they have perceived us to be and suggested that we are, and we've bought into it, but we're not. I was dealing with a person on the internet today. We're kind of in a debate. Even about the gay situation. And there was a battle going on the internet, between the guys who were like really, pro-gay and the folks that were pro-God, and it was like a jihad between those two parties. And I stepped in there and I said, this is just a matter of opinion. And I guess the gay side kind of took offense with that. No, this is self-perception. This isn't opinion. And I began to share with them, self-perception is an opinion. It's the opinion that you have of yourself. That's your self-perception. It's the opinion that you have of yourself. And you have this opinion of yourself. The religious folks have this opinion of yourself. And right now you are both battling each other with your own opinion. You are what you believe you are. But that doesn't mean other people are going to believe that's what you are. But you have to be that. You have to find contentment in that. I find interesting, in the perception, and we'll kind of deviate to the gay situation, the transgender situation right now, and often many of them, it would be a terrible situation. And I think the people that are arguing against them so harshly, they have no heart. We have to come to a place where we can empathize with people. We don't have to go through what they're going through. Empathize with them. I'm not saying agree with them, but just have a heart. Just imagine how difficult that would be if that's what you believed you were. Now, I do have, especially with the black transgender issue, on some of the Facebook, social media sites, I could swear some of these same people that are pro-transgender because this is the identity that they believe they are. I remember when Rachel Dolezal, that white woman, believed she was a black woman, they were really against her. Now, I was in her corner because it was okay. If that's what you perceive yourself to be, why should I care? Why should I care against you? Okay? And so I see the same thing with this transgender and the gay issue. If this is who an individual perceives they are, that's their opinion. That's their own self-perception. Why would I get angry with them? But then on the same token, if I don't agree with them, and I don't, but I believe that it's my opinion. And so neither party should be upset at the other for not agreeing with them. We should just allow people to be who they feel they are. As long as you're not infringing upon the liberties of someone else, what does it matter what you believe you are? Now I do find it very interesting, and I would like to, I think I was not planning on getting on this issue, but we are talking about the opinions and self-perception, so let's just stay here for a minute. You know, I was thinking about that issue with the gays and the transgenders and how they're not really suffering. Let me just preface, I want to say that because many are comparing this situation to the civil rights struggle that black folks went through forever. And it's somewhat similar, but mostly not, because black folks came out of slavery, which was torture, which was hundreds of years of murder and rape and genocide and disruption of family units, and not only rape of girls, but rape of boys and perversions and tortures and all kinds of mess. But see, what black folks were striving for was not that white folks needed to like them, but just that white folks need to leave them alone. Don't hit me. Don't shoot me. Don't torture me. Don't affect my family's livelihood or even their lives. You know, that's what black folks were looking for. And I see that's the difference in what I see with the civil rights movement for black folks, or even the human rights movement for black folks, versus the movement for the gays and the transgenders today, is that I think it's going a little too far to expect that people are going to agree with you and are going to be on your side if that's just not what their opinion is, okay? And see, the civil rights movement, that's not what black folks were looking for. Black folks were not looking for folks to like us. We were looking for the folks not to be hitting us, okay? Now, I know it is a little different, tricky situation with these murders of these transgenders, but, you know, I don't really know the details about that. But, you know, I think that safety and self-preservation is very important. So whatever it takes to survive, I think folks, no matter what we are, no matter who we are, we need to survive. And so, as many of you know, that's the soapbox I've been for black folks. You know, ever since Trayvon Martin was killed, I immediately, after contemplation, came up with the 5-point, you know, program that we need to adopt as black people to survive in this nation. And automatically I'm like hit with pushback from black folks. Because number one, we need to stop getting high on anything. Stop the alcohol, stop the weed, because we are at war. We need to stop committing any kind of crimes, because when you commit any kind of crime, even if it's running a light, you get stopped, you've immediately put yourself at the mercy of the police officer that's dealing with you. If he's a good guy, that's good for you. But if he's not, you've just placed yourself at that individual's mercy. We have to stop breaking laws. So we have to stop getting that buzz, because we're still at war. We have to stop breaking laws. We need to get healthy. You can't fight. You can't think right. When I say fight now, when I'm talking about fighting in modern times, I'm talking about what it is that you need to do to survive, which is exactly what we're talking about. Fighting to stay alive. You know, like when somebody's dunking you underwater and you're trying to get up. You know, that kind of fighting. That's how we're trying to fight to stay alive. We have to do whatever it takes to stay alive. And so what I'm suggesting is we are self-sabotaging ourselves by the foods that we eat. We have to start eating right. This whole diabetes, high cholesterol, you know, all this stuff, that high blood pressure, all this stuff that we have brought on ourselves. No, it's not hereditary. It's not hereditary in black people. It's hereditary through the foods that we're eating. The same foods that Mama made. All those things. We have to cut back. We have to Google, find out what's healthy, and change our diets. Secondly, we need to exercise. Because eating right is one thing, but we do need to exercise. You know, the progress of today is wonderful. It's amazing. Like we have the technology, like we have Netflix, and I love Netflix, and cable, and the internet, and smartphones, and all this good stuff. But it does have a tendency to move us to be more sedentary than we were in years gone by. So we're not doing as much. So okay, we're eating the wrong kind of foods, and then we're going to sleep. Or we're just going to sit there and watch something on TV, which is really no different than going to sleep. We're just being sedentary. So we're killing ourselves. So we need to stop getting that buzz, any kind. We need to stop breaking the laws of any kind. We need to eat right. and exercise, that's all one and the same. And we need to get an education. Because education is going to be the key to get us out of this mess that we're in. And it has to be a smart education. So we have a lot of folks walking around, especially, right out of high school, maybe, and I'm going to go to school, I'm going to become something I really want to be. But no, you need to find out, what kind of jobs are going to be in demand. You get a sociology degree as a bachelor's degree, you're going nowhere. You get a psychology degree, you get a bachelor's degree, you're going nowhere. So you need to find an advisor before you make a commitment on what direction you're going to go. No, it's not about what you always wanted to be or what you always wanted to do. You need to get yourself in a degree in a field that's going to be in demand when you get older. See, very rarely, I don't know, there are cases that folks know exactly, folks think in 20 years what they're thinking right now. That's one of the reasons I don't believe in tattoos. Especially for young people. Because you don't know who you're going to be or what you're going to be later, and what you think is cool now may not be cool then. And education is one of those things. And so that would be a very good thing to do. I have a buddy of mine, he has a theology degree, a master's degree in theology. And I have an MBA, a master's degree in business. And he's told me on a number of occasions that he made a mistake, that he should have gotten that business degree. And I'll tell you, because he was already a minister. He was already one of the best ministers, one of the deep ministers that I've known. He had insight, and he knew the scriptures and all that, and he went and got his theological degree. And so now he's pigeonholed, and the only thing he can do with his master's degree is something to do with ministry. Which is good for some folks. But come on. No. See, a master's and MBA, a business degree, is going to help you build that church. It's going to help you in whatever direction you go. But find something that's going to be in demand, like robotics or something in the sciences. You're looking at the global issues that we have today, something that has to do with the environment. There are technologies that are going to be technologies of the future. I guarantee if you go to your college, speak to an advisor, they'll give you insight. And some of those advisors, some of their insight is based on their mistakes, their wrong choices. They're going to tell you what to do. That's the best place to go. Go to school. Get an advisor. Have a conversation. And then determine. And the coolest thing about going to school, especially the first couple of years, whatever it is you desire and you want to be, the first maybe year and a half, a bunch of the courses are all the same anyway. And so it gives you a chance to be in there and try to figure out what direction, which way you want to go. Like I told my son, he's in marketing, and that wouldn't have worked for me. But that's who he was. He found that niche, found that place that worked with his personality. He's blowing it up. That's what we need to do. Find out what works, what's going to be the demand. Marketing, we're talking about how businesses, want customers to believe that they want a particular product, right? That's marketing. So that works again, as we discussed, with religion, works with politics, works with business, marketing, come on. So that is a particular field that is always going to be in demand. And so that's a tidbit right there. But the purpose, I guess, of this program was self-perception again. To get us to begin to determine who we are. And that's very difficult coming up, because oftentimes we come up in families, our parents have determined who we are. Friends have determined who we are. Neighborhoods have determined who we are. And most of the time we're not. And I would dare say that most people that live a life and finally they die and pass away, most people have never tapped in to whatever it was that they were supposed to be, the thing that they were supposed to do that was unique for them. But I think with time, taking the time, just chilling. You got to stop there. Oh yeah, the last thing. Okay, the education. All right, let me keep going. We're still there. That's number 4. So we got to stop getting that buzz of any kind. We got to stop breaking any kind of laws. We got to get healthy. That's eating right and exercising. We got to get educated. And the last thing is we need to get armed. And I don't mean we're going to have any battles or pitched battles or shootouts or anything, but we need to be able to protect ourselves. We need to be able to visibly be able to protect ourselves. We need for folks to know that we're able to protect ourselves. That way the bullies, stand your ground bullies, Second Amendment bullies, all these folks that are standing behind these laws and by the Constitution, acting like that's their, reason. They're not. They're bullies. And when they see you have what they have, turn it back down. That's what we're talking about. So don't get it twisted. Don't think those folks are really behind the Constitution. They say the word Constitution, but by the Constitution, every citizen has certain inalienable rights, like life, love, and the pursuit of happiness. And if you're shooting me down, and you have a jury of your peers exonerating you because you've convinced them that you were scared for your life, oh, come on now. That's what you got. And they probably are scared. Let me back this up a little bit. We talk about how these police officers are claiming that they're scared, and then the juries believe them and all this stuff. I want to suggest that they probably really are scared. And this scared has to do with guilt. Because as much as it's being denied, like, I didn't do anything to you, that was before I was born and all that stuff. And, if they have any mental faculties at all, they know they've experienced quite a bit of privilege because of who they are, and they know that you haven't. Okay? Whether they admit it or not. Remember that song by George Michael, how guilty feet ain't got no rhythm? Yeah, when you're guilty, your whole thinking, your whole thought process is off. And so there's fear associated with that type guilt. Because what you have here, there's a universal truth. That pretty much every society throughout history has always believed that what goes around comes around. You reap what you sow. You're going to get yours just like you gave it. Karma. So many ways of saying the same thing. They know. And there's a guilt involved. That's why we can look at every other nation that mistreats folks. Oh, China has slave labor. Oh, they're selling slaves in Saudi Arabia. Oh, they killed that American journalist in Saudi Arabia. How terrible. Come on, Eric Garner's dead. Freddie Gray's dead. Trayvon Martin's dead. Sandra Bland's dead. The list goes on and on and on. And we're worried about that Saudi journalist who wasn't even American. And you know what's interesting about that? Because he didn't look like the folks that are suffering here in America. He was a white Saudi. And let me tell you, the issue that I find with that, because suffering is suffering. But be clear that before he fell out of graces with the Saudi royal family, he was in graces with the Saudi royal family. Saudi Arabia has always been killing people. They've been executing people. And in mass, dark-colored folks. That's where that slave trade, a lot of that slave trade is going on. And a lot of the imprisonments and tortures. So people have been suffering heinous abuses while that journalist, Khashoggi, was in good graces with Saudi Arabia. People were being murdered. People were being killed dead. I'm just saying, when it comes to black folks, all over this planet, there is like this unspoken truth of the abuse from the hands of the colonizers, what my daughter would call colonizers. And unresolved atrocities that are being denied. Even this whole thing with the reparations, I don't expect that to happen. I would like it though. But they took the Japanese and interned the Japanese in World War II for a short amount of time, paid them off. You got these Native Americans with the casinos paying them off. But see, the most heinous treatment that this country has ever dealt out to any group of people has been to those that were transported here from Africa as slaves. 100 million lost simply in the transportation. See, we talk about the Holocaust, how 6 million, Jews were killed in the Holocaust. 100 million black folks died simply in the transportation, what they call the Middle Passage. And that isn't even concerning the millions upon millions that were actually brought here who had children, generations of dysfunction, of generational PTSD. And they wonder why, well, what responsibility is it of ours, what you're going through today? Do you believe in PTSD? Only when it pertains to some folks. Do you believe in justice? Only when it pertains to some folks. Now I'm preaching to the choir right now. Because this is what we know. Because there's been a perception that has been laid on black people of being lazy, of being shiftless, of being criminals, of being drunkards, of being drug addicts, of being thieves, of being womanizers, and all these things. Now, black folks actually built this nation, slave labor, for free. The benefits, the privilege that we talk about certain folks are enjoying are the privileges that were created and built on the blood and the sweat and the shoulders of black folks in this nation. So there wasn't any laziness, there wasn't any shift. All that stuff has come upon us. Why? Because we believe the suggestion, we believe that perception that has been laid upon us, and we've bought into it. This is who we are. A couple of years ago, I was talking to these group of folks, a group of folks that are successful in life, and as one brother, I was saying, well, the first thing we need to do is, we need to stop smoking weed. He just laughed. He said, well, that ain't never going to happen. that little organization never got off the ground. But he was making a point. But we have to open our eyes. What I'm suggesting is, and I was speaking to another brother, a good brother. He's an ex-minister and a good man trying to do work in the community. That no politician is ever going to do anything that's going to be satisfactory to satisfy and fix the ills of black folks in this nation. It's just not going to happen. I mean, they need your vote because they want to get elected. We talked about in the last program, that's because they just want that power. That's their own personal self-perception, okay? But as far as fixing our situation, it's not going to happen through the hands of anybody out there. The only one that's going to fix your situation is you. The only one that's going to fix my situation is me. And I've been telling you this. I've been on the air now for 14 years. I was just telling my daughter about that. 14 years. And primarily I've been giving, every other way of putting it, but the bottom line is that nobody's going to put you together. Nobody's going to fix your situation but you. And I'm telling you, it's possible. I've demonstrated. I don't smoke weed. I don't drink alcohol, except for communion every month. I try not to break any laws. I might occasionally run that red light, though. But the thing is, when you don't have a record, and the police get behind you, and they're running your tags if you're a black person for real, we all know that. But you better believe, if you have a record, they're going to pull you over. And usually those are the ones that are getting abused by the police. Those who already have that record. Those who are already out there. And we driving out there without a license or a suspended license. What I find most amazing are a lot of the drivers, a lot of the young blacks especially, that are committing traffic infractions, ridiculous ones, unnecessary ones, have a record, or don't have a license, or got weed smoke in the car, or are driving a stolen car. I mean, come on. It's like we set ourselves up for that abuse. But the point is that we need to begin to see ourselves in a more positive light. We need to look at destructive lifestyles as being the things that we are not supposed to be, the things that we are not created to be, and the things that are not going to benefit us or our children. We need to begin to set a proper example for our children so that they can take that proper example and run with it. I am living proof. I am that proof, and that I have done these things simply to prove that it can be done. As I was beginning to say, I don't get that buzz anymore. I eat right. I exercise just about every day. That education, if I've been going to school for 10 years. I got my associate degree in 2012, my bachelor's in 2016, and I just got my MBA in March of 2019, a couple of months ago. And I started when I was 50. So if you're younger than me, you've got no excuse not to. And as well, I'm armed. I think it's our responsibility to be able to protect our family. I have a family. I have to protect my family. I can't fight like when I was a younger person in the martial art. I can't run as fast as I used to get away. You got to be armed, especially as you get older, because you got to take care of yourself and those loved ones that are around you. And I guarantee you, if you are able to take care of yourself, you're not going to really need to take care of yourself. I practiced karate from the time I was 14 to probably 30 years old or so. And I never got in a fight outside of martial art practice and tournaments. The last actual fist fight I got in was in the 8th grade. So I'm just saying that when you're able to take care of yourself, you're walking with the confidence that people sense. When you're not able to take care of yourself, when you're high, when you're committing crimes, when you're unhealthy, overweight, underweight, anemic, diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, when you got all that mess going on, you are a victim. And you're not going to be a victim to other folks. You just victimize yourself. And your children, that's why those health diseases are hereditary, because your children, you're their hero. They're going to be just like you. So if your children are going to be, and you know that's true, just like those mother ducks, when they're walking across the street, or the geese, whatever they are, the little ducks are walking behind them, or the ones that are training their kids how to fly and jump out of the nest. People are the same way. Your kids are looking at you. They're going to be like you. They're going to fly like you. They're going to walk like you. They're going to talk like you. They're the same addictions you have. It's going to take it to that next level. That's why with my children, I'm just glad they never got to see that person that I was. They got to see this person. So my son is doing what he's doing. My daughter is doing what she's doing. Because she's looking at her dad. Look, she has a YouTube channel. She put a YouTube movie up there a couple of days just explaining what her different iPhone does, the features on her iPhone, and within like one day she had over 400 likes. It's like, Daddy, all I need is 16 more to my 400. And if we were driving somewhere, before I got to our destination, she had it. I'm like, how are you doing that? Because it's what we want. We want our children to be like us, but we want them to be better than us. Take what we can give them and then take it to that next level. So we got to give them something good. And that's what the self-perception is. You cannot have a proper self-perception if you're getting a buzz every day. I mean, cool as that weed might feel, the reason you're still smoking it is because you're addicted. You don't have that shaking addiction. You don't have the heaves, dry heaves. You don't have the sweat, that kind of addiction. But you have what's called a psychological addiction because you believe that it's just so good you're never going to stop doing it. That's called an addiction. So as long as you're addicted to taking in a substance that's actually changing the output of your brain, that's actually affecting your self-perception, you will never know who you are. And then how can you give your kids any type of direction if the direction that you are functioning in is one of being high, which is not you at all? So in a long way around, we're going to close here. But I want to leave you with the tidbit that we have a lot of work to do. That we are the ones. It is about self-perception, and nobody's going to give you a good self-perception. Nobody's going to put that on you, especially if they're benefiting off of exploiting you. Nobody loves you but you. And we need to take care of ourselves and grasp a hold of a proper self-perception and impart that healthy perception into our children.